head that comes out of nothing.
Oh, are
And
those
then
the
sh-
dress cards?
And then she points directly at Lena.
Oh no, I'm fine. I've got enough of that. That's good. I'll
No,
just
no,
take.
no, it's fine. Trust me. You don't put it in. That's what she said. She,
He couldn't help himself.
The fucking silence where everyone was.
No, I'm joking. Also, did I mention Rain sucks?
I don't know. I like him.
The weather!
You said it.
Shiny sucks.
I think at that point I'm just making Darth Vader's helm.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. And you just have Lena going, I find your lack of care around these mushrooms disturbing. Oh wait, I breathed in, the die falls down again.
That's what you get for leaving us in charge.
Yes.
Maria needs it. Must have.
Someone write this down. Also, if you sell it, I want 10% of profits.
You know, we can just flip it.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, I wasn't not doing the thing.
The other one is for the Emperor.
Demo collected.
I mean,
They're both kind of downhill, honestly.
totally.
Just your flavor of totalitarianism.
One's a militant totalitarian nation. Whoa there!
Just let me alt up and clip that. Last few dungeons, there's gonna be a nice amount of gold. I'll grab these. Mushroom. And these. Oh look, there was Strut there. Fortunately, I'm built different.
You got the Toricron.
Nice.
This is
Look at
cursed.
that peak performance right there. Can I? Yeah. Look at this chat.
all right, I think, and we're live. So, welcome to the ATH Nerdcast. It's been a while. We took the summer off to recuperate, enjoy each other's company, get ourselves out there touching grass, the usual things people do in the summer. Spoiler alert, none of that. But we're back.
I touched grass. I got a new plant.
Touched cheese, of course.
I am touching cheese.
The only plant I touched is the parsley bush in our garden.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. So, but yeah. Welcome to. I guess you could say this is season 2, or the new season of the podcast, new season after the break. And we wanted to kind of welcome everybody who's been gone for a while. And this month, our topic is going to be homebrews and mods. We called it Make It Your Own. We want to talk a little bit about what players and modders and gamers do to kind of adjust and change up their games. knowing specifically that I am a huge modder myself, and I'm sure these two can attest, and Artsy as well. She's been suffering through it for the past couple of weeks as I've been modding a specific game, but that's a story for when we get to it. Now, normally our podcast schedule used to go introduction, news section, main topic, and then our throwbacks or kind of mentions of what we're going to do next. We are breaking up our news section. So Core and Frax and them have come up with a fantastic idea that we have a segment called Nerding Out, which our first segment should be coming out very soon on our YouTube, where we essentially do kind of the news and we bring in maybe a guest. We start talking about certain topics. Core, we actually had your wife Mika on, and that was a ton of fun talking about Anno. And by the way, Frax, did you know Anno is coming out with a Roman Anno?
Wait, really?
Of course. So yeah, watching Frax super hyper analyze the screenshots of the trailer and complaining about not complaining, giving criticism about the statue types, and then realizing, oh wait, they did do it right, and there's options or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah. Then they showed me a different screenshot where they actually did do it right, so that wasn't me.
Yeah. So, but that's all good. Let's go. So that's a lot of fun, and we hope to be doing that a little bit more. So we're going to be kind of condensing that, and all of that is also going to be attached to our website, which is going to be used a lot more frequently with articles and whatnot of myself, because I am going back to work. I've been out of work for 2 months doing some recuperation for my back, and now I'm going back, and this is the podcast before I get back to work. So I'm excited. I've been going insane, and thanks to Artsy, I've kept myself sane and occupied, but it's time for me to get back into the adult world. Yeah. So, though we do have some quick news. News number one, just really quick, we will be shifting our Tuesday TTRPG gaming group, Whispering Woods. More than likely, it's going to be shifting to Wednesdays at the same time. So anybody who's watching the VOD or who's here, if you are a regular, so there's a couple of you guys, I know Mega, Fables, a lot of you guys always follow us. We are switching it over to Wednesdays because that is going to be my new day off. We'll see how that goes. If need be, we can always switch it back. My boss is very flexible, but this will make it very easy for my team at my job to fill in the gaps, and they want to support the stream, so they're going to let me decide what is best once we get in. Number two, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for the month of September, we're going back to our normal Sunday streams, and I think on the docket for our Sunday stream is going to be Abiotic Factor. Am I correct?
That was the plan. But it can always be a different plan. Depends on what people are feeling.
Yeah, so we're going to be hitting up Abiotic Sunday, so that'll be tomorrow. Around the same time as we start our Whispering Woods game, so it'd be around maybe 1 or 2 p.m., 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that. So, but yeah, Abiotic Factor is going to be something really cool that we're looking to play. So just wanted to kind of give that up because these are immediate kind of news that's relevant to the ATH and some of the plans that we have. That also means, Frax, that we might need to shift your Wednesday streams, correct? Because you normally stream on Wednesdays.
I'll see when I do this. It haven't happened in a bit either because I've been really busy in real life with things that cost a lot of energy, but that should hopefully be over soon-ish. DM. No promises.
Sounds good. So
and I continue with Oblivion, and then maybe later this month the new Age of Mythology expansion.
Yeah, that's coming out here, so that's going to be awesome. Also, look forward to soon-ish a VOD from Malanim. Malanim actually ran a Shadow of the Weird Wizard one shot for myself, Phoebe, and a few others. It was a ton of fun. Not putting any pressure on him for the timetable on editing that because I know that's a lot of work. But that should be out at some point, and we'll definitely promote that on the socials and bring it up maybe during the stream or whatnot. But looked like it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, and it should be really fun to see a different system too. So that being said, we're going to drop right into our main topic, which is make it our own. So Core came up with that little title here because we had make it make sense. Now it's make it our own. We're going to be talking about modding and homebrewing, which I think kind of fall in a very similar, kind of like a similar section of what people want from games.
In both cases, you have your game and you got the official materials, which are good, but they may have some flaws that in there that you think could be fixed, or some features that are lacking that you think maybe someone else might have made. So you go to like Nexus mods or GM Binder, and you look at what other people have made for those games, like unofficially, usually for free. Well, most mods can be downloaded without paying, but donations are of course always accepted by the mod authors and the homebrew makers. And usually they add a lot of new options or bug fixes or whatever you want, mods.
Yeah, there's a lot of good examples of mods. In fact, just going on to, for example, Nexus is one of the sites that you can get mods on. Steam Workshop is integrated into a lot of games and is supporting modding in a sense, which is really cool to see. So
Mod.io is also a bigger one. Some games prefer using Mod.io over Steam Workshop. It all depends on how their backend works, but in the end, for us, the players, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah, I know ModDB is another one that people use as well.
That was an older one. I think it's kind of deserted by now, but for some older games, you can still find mods there.
It's definitely not deserted, especially for games like Stalker. There's where the majority of the mods are going to be in. So a lot of the older ones, and a lot of people who have pulled off from Nexus, because I know Nexus made some changes where a lot of it was like you can't delete your mods, you can't really have control over certain things. So a lot of mods.
The collections updates.
Yeah.
So, understandable.
But there's still a decent amount of people that are going onto their own platforms for games and mods. As for like tabletop mods, that's a whole different story because there's all over different places where you would go for tabletop mods depending on what you're looking for or homebrew. I know, like for example, D&D on D&D Beyond, there's a whole section just for homebrew.
Yep.
Which is
GM Binder, like I said before, is also a really good one.
I think Scribd or one of those are pretty good for I forget the name of it, but it's still one that people use a lot for Pathfinder because it has a lot of the Pathfinder kind of like formatting and whatnot. So it's very easy to kind of just plug in what you're looking to do and put it in there. So, but that being said, for that we wanted to kind of talk about some of our experiences with modding and some of the mods that might stand out or got us into the scene or something that we want to talk about that's near and dear to each of us. So if there's any volunteers, you guys could go first. If not, I'm ready to talk about certain things and I can pass it on to someone else once I'm done. So yeah.
Our day director asked me to quickly mate something, so I'm kind of doing that in the background.
Okay. Core. Something recent that we've been playing modded.
Yeah.
We can bring that one up because that was a ton of fun. It still is. Though the headache of updates is kind of making it difficult to log in, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, but that's not really the developer's fault. I can get into
Yeah.
that a bit. So we've been playing Conan Exiles a lot, which is a pretty cool survival game that came out, I think, in early access sometime 2017 and then full release 2018. And it still fluctuates around a couple 10,000 players. And yeah, it's basically a open world survival game, as you know it, set in the Conan universe. The story is you're in the Exiled Lands, which is basically you could say a penal colony that's magically encapsulated, and you try to survive in the Exiled Lands. And yeah, it has mod support in the Steam Workshop, and since it's made on Unreal Engine 4, people have a really easy time modding, and there's thousands of mods. And the fact that the game is approaching its 10th anniversary instead as players is to a big part fault of the mod community. But the beautiful thing about that is Funcom really enables that. Because of course it works with dedicated servers, which are not easy to host and usually cost money if you let somebody else do it. But Funcom in their free time developed a dedicated server tool that has a GUI, like it's an actual application you open that has a window where you put in checkboxes and it hosts the server for you. Which is rare. Usually, when we at the ATH do a thing with a server, it's mostly me hosting them since I have a little web server at home, and most of them go like, "Here's a command line, good luck," and that's it. So the Conan Exiles one is a really welcome, unique part of that, because you can just go, yeah, I'll open the window and that does it. The only problem is it supports using mods on the modded servers, but how that works, this is going to get a bit technical. In the background, the tool uses the Steam command line, which is basically a little program that can access Steam without you having to install the client, which is usually nice, since you don't have to fully install Steam on your server. Because that's the second instance of Steam running and it logs you out on your other PC, so it's annoying. And Steam command just goes like, hey, this user would like to get files for this game. The problem is when you use the workshop, it basically goes, hey, the user wants this mod for this game. And that works as long as the mod files are reasonably small, like below 1-2 gigabyte. If it's too big, it times out. So you have to basically manage your mods manually, and that means when it updates, I have to go to the server and do things. And since Conan Exiles had an actual content patch a couple of weeks back, the mods are gradually updating to account for that, so I sometimes have to manually update the server. But yeah, other than that, it works splendidly.
Yeah, it
That's
definitely.
kind of thing with modding. That's
Okay.
kind of thing with modding. You do have to finagle around with some files, with some settings. Often depends a bit on the game you're modding. Some of them are more finicky. Some of them are literally click download and it works.
Do we wanna talk about the big oopsie we had at the beginning of the server, because it was funny?
Do tell.
So when we first started modding the server, everything went fine, but we were playing the game and I went, okay, this is kind of more difficult than I remember.
Oh, right, yeah.
We struggled for a while, until we found out, because then I tested some things in single player without mods, and I was like, wait, why isn't the hit points of our character scaling? That's weird. And we had an old mod that was never updated to use the new attribute system they changed in the game a while back. That was like a year or two back. So basically what it did, it disabled all attribute gains. So we basically were playing the game as level 1s for the whole span of the game. And that's how we got our asses handed to us in higher level zones.
I was doing fine. I am built different.
I had my companions, and they did fine. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I got my ass kicked regularly. I was like, why doesn't my heavy armor do anything?
yeah. As soon as the enemies saw me, I'm like, oh wait, they breathed in my direction. Well, I'm dead. So
yeah, that was funny.
But yeah, then we figured out which mod was causing that and got rid of that. I think we noticed it when the first people played around with sorcery and couldn't get the perk corruption to work, which came with the new perk system. So that just broke. And then we figured out, wait, something's not right here. And then we fixed that. And then sometimes we added a few new mods, and that's always a bit of a maintenance issue, but it's so much more fun when you have cooler new things to do. Also, that was also a thing we maybe wanted to do for a nerd out session, like show our the base we built while playing on that server.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Maybe even just run a siege and do that as an event. Because we were planning in that game. There is if people don't know, there used to be purges, which would happen as a bar filled up over time, and then randomly something would attack you depending on the zone that you were in. Now they've changed it where it's like you have a treasure room, and the more treasure that's in the treasure room, you can flaunt your treasure with the treasurer, and he would essentially kind of like say, "Hey, look at all this treasure." And the thing is, what is the Stygians?
Yep.
They will come and attack you. So you basically trigger a siege, and they'll send tons of, depending on the level, which is again depending on your wealth, tons of NPCs and all sorts of things to attack your treasure room. So they form like a camp somewhere off in the distance, and from that camp, their path directly to the treasure room, fighting whatever they can on the way. So they'll throw out some like guys with battering rams to break down the doors, and just regular like fodder troops that will fight. And then I guess in higher levels they summon like magic users, and there's all sorts of stuff. There's crazy stuff that happens. I'm looking forward to trying that. So I think one of the biggest things we were doing was testing out which builds could have an actual proper siege, because sometimes the pathing gets stuck and they're like, well, they can't find the way to your treasure room, so no siege will happen. So it's kind of trying to make a siege that was siegeable, a castle that was siegeable. So
I still maintain that my castle is the most defensible place on the server because no siege could ever happen to it. Because it was on top of a mountain, so you had to get there with stairs, and the sieges can't account for stairs, so they were just like, nope, impossible.
I think
Also,
it was. Okay.
It was pretty central in our base, and it only sieges when there's a certain max distance around enemy buildings. So
In my defense, it wasn't central when I built it.
yeah, that is true.
It just did the thing that real castles in history also do. You make this nice, safe fortress in a strategic location. You need a lot of people to build it and to work in it, and then just a town happens around it. That's how it goes.
No, that's actually what happened.
Yeah, because I think Core, you set up the tavern, which is an amazing build.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started building smaller buildings around that, like a blacksmith, a tannery or whatever, just to kind of fill it in to make it feel like a village instead of just like one big super house, which that a lot of people do that, but I kind of wanted to be open. And I think it came up pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's a thing that the game also changed. When the game started, you had your followers and the crafters just stand on their crafting bench 24/7. So if you found a smith follower, you would just put them into the smithing bench, and he would just stand there, or she, and hammer on the anvil 24/7. And then they added the living settlement system, which is something they wanted in for release, but they just couldn't make that. But now it's they stand on the smithing bench for a part of the day, then they go to the tavern, and then they go to sleep or sit next to a cooking fire for a while, so they just move around. And that's way prettier when you have the actual buildings, because people walk between the buildings, most of them are in the tavern. It becomes a real, like, lively town.
Yeah, definitely, because it's nice to go to the blacksmith and see our blacksmith like working the smithing table. Then I go to the house and I see someone cooking, and it's just like it's it's really cool. I know the living settlement system is a bit buggy. Some people mention that there's some issues with it sometimes, but for the most part, I guess the way we have it set up, other than like NPCs falling through the world or through the, like through the floor, which is just an issue with the game being as old as it is, it's worked pretty good.
Yeah, that's also just a problem with Unreal, because with how it loads chunks and draw distance, there's always some wonky things happening, because Unreal wasn't made for open world survival games with a building system. Yeah, and it has some drawbacks on that. Frame rate in our main base isn't that great anymore too. Um,
Yeah, I think
checked
my
recently, I
FPS in the
think
wider world is easily upwards of 120, and then I get to the base and it's like 45.
I mean, to be fair, if we assume that most of our building pieces are at the main base, the base has, I think, 10,000 building pieces now,
Yeah, easily.
which all have to be rendered and lighted, and the engine goes, help!
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
and
think
then
it's mostly the lighting that causes the
Yeah.
issue.
I,
Yeah.
I
And what
tried I tried turning off all the lights and I got like 10 frames more. It was actually funny. But yeah, so and the beautiful thing is, with the mods, we got in a few more building sets, like different looking sets, so that we have more variety in the buildings. And we also have a mod system that's basically a transmog system that gives you really easy access to dressing people differently. So without knowing the recipes or having to craft the actual clothing, we could just put our villagers in different like outfits that fit their job, and that was super nice to do, because it's a quick thing to do, because it doesn't give you a lot of gameplay benefit, because the crafters usually don't fight. When there's a fight breaking out, they usually flee. So equipping them doesn't really do a lot other than look good, and for that we just used a mod that could equip them really quick, which was nice. And I think what's the other mods? We have a mod that lets you emote, so we could basically pose our followers to do things. Like we had entertainers that we could just put in a specific dance on a specific place, so they look good. There's a play music instrument emote, so we just put a few people in the tavern as a band. And then there's another mod that just spawns a barrel with music notes on it, and you can basically have it play royalty-free music. So we have that on loop in the tavern, and that ups the atmosphere so much.
And
Makes
the
everything
dwarving
so much
building
nicer.
sets.
Yeah, slight Scary bias. Rain found a dwarven building set, and it's
You're welcome.
amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's very high quality. That when they first showed it to me, that rebuilds the walls of the fortress in that style, I thought that was generally something that the developers had added.
Yeah, that
It's that
one's
high
really
quality.
close. Yeah, that one's actually really close.
Yeah, I
There's only
think
a few things that really gave it away. The first being there's no dwarves in Conan.
Yeah,
And the second being that the official developers would never add pieces with like moving fluids, because that's not really a thing they do.
yeah. Basically, the it's called Ancient Civilization building set, so they don't actually call it dwarfs, but it's very Tolkien dwarf. So
Yeah.
there's no way around it. It's dwarfs. Um, but yeah, they added that, and the thing they did that would have tipped me off earlier was they add pieces with a different geometry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but the developers themselves started adding pieces with different geometry to the in-game store.
Yeah.
Which are usually awesome, and I hate them for it because I want all of them. Um, and I have mostly all of them, and yeah. But yeah, you can get a lot of cool aesthetic building sets without giving them a cent, because modding is free. They do deserve some of your money though, because they give you all the content for free, like new dungeons. They reworked the oldest dungeon in the game in the latest patch to be a more puzzly dungeon, and it's very fun to run. Actually scary. Um, so yeah, I kind of can't fault them for having money to keep improving the game. So
Yeah,
and
they've done
the
a good
things
job supporting.
the things they put out is actually also really high quality. Like there's no simple stuff in there. It's actually all really, really well done. But yeah, that was what we did in Conan. I was just thinking about the biggest mods we used that changed things, but we didn't, since it was for a lot of people, it was the first time playing the game. I didn't want to change the core formula too much.
Yeah, we
So
didn't
we
have any of the
mostly,
big overhaul mods. Because there are two like really big overhauls for Conan Exiles, which look pretty nice. Like they basically add a bunch of MMO-like features like factions and reputation systems with those factions. It looks interesting, but it's not. It strays pretty far from the vanilla game.
yeah,
It's its own. It's basically bordering. It's like it's a different game at this point.
Yeah.
It's
I tried it a
different-
little bit.
yeah, it's a
It's-
different game made in Conan.
Yeah,
It
I
does
kind
look
of
really fun. I would be down to try that sometime.
And since today we're on modding, we will talk about different games made in other games that kind of became their own thing. There's a couple of those around. But yeah, that was mostly what we did in Conan. Um, I'm currently still trying to think of what other mods we use because I've played the modded game so much that I don't know what we added.
I think
But yeah,
those
as I
were the
said,
most important
we,
ones.
we
We
did
did
add
add-
a lot of like modifying mods.
we did
Yeah.
add a mod that added in the Eldarium. So like
Oh yeah,
a lot of the stuff from the DLC that you can't make in the because there's a DLC which is a new island and it has its own mechanics for like leveling up and its own gear. So there was a mod that basically added those mechanics to the original world, original territory, or whatever it's called, so that you could actually use those, and they were placed in appropriate spots. They were placed in like places where it made sense for them to be placed. So
yeah. Basically, the resource that exists on the Isle of Sipta is basically a metal that an ancient race made metallurgically, and the maker of that mod edited basically to end game content that's level appropriate for that has ties to the elder races. So it's completely lore appropriate. The thing is, these things are all available without you having the DLC. Like as an admin on a server, you can spawn all those in without owning the DLC. So they're not circumventing any gates for the DLC because that would have gotten the mod taken down. They're just adding it in lore appropriate places to acquire those things because they have really really cool like little sets of set bonuses, unique perks that can really really flesh out your build and are actually really fun to use. So I was kind of sad that they still hadn't added those to the Exile lands. And yeah, there's one mod we maybe have to try in the nerd out session because a few seasons back when they did the battle pass, they had a battle pass for a few months, up to a year, I think. Which they reverted because they realized it's not the format that people play survival games in, which is nice. Going like, yeah, this is the thing everything does. Let's try that. Oh, it doesn't work. We're not doing that anymore. That's a good decision. And in the Age of War, they added a NPC castle that you could actively siege, like turn the table on the Stygians. But the problem with that was it's a couple hundred building pieces, really big fortress in a place on the map, and it basically drew a lot of performance on the official server, so they patched it out. But they left all the code for it in, so there's a 1 megabyte mod that gives admins a command to spawn in the castle. So if you have a private server and want to do the siege without frying your server most of the time, currently the castle is not built on our server. And yeah, my idea was when we defended against the sieges, I would then spawn in the castle and then we could basically narratively take the fight back to the Stygians and assault their castle. So yeah, the mods do really cool things. Especially when players aren't happy with the change, there's often mods going like, yeah, you can homebrew this. We're reverting this.
yeah.
And
So
that was our journey into Conan for a good couple weeks and months.
Yeah, and we definitely want to do a nerd out session on that to kind of give a nice idea of what we've built and the characters because we use that same transmog system to make our TTRPG characters. Some of us, which is really cool. Because that I think was the first thing Core said is like we're gonna just make sure we get all the mods so that we can make our characters. And since he had a big list of them, he basically put that together. And pretty much all of them work really well. There's a couple spicier ones, but that's fine because it's really weird. It's like a bunch of spicy armor sets, but then really good armor sets mixed in those sets. So it's kind of like, huh. So, but most
I mean,
of the player.
that's just the issue of there being a lot of everything and the kitchen sink mods. And if you need things like dragon wings, Lena, you have to
I do
get
know what
in.
you're talking about.
You have to get in like the big mod packs that have a lot of things for you to use. And yeah, but the thing is, they added a system on the server in vanilla that you can just block certain things from being player made, so you can actually control really well. You can load in a big mod and limit what is actually accessible on the server, so you can really fine tune that if you want to do that. So you get a lot of tools handed by the developers to actually make that work really well.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely have been enjoying that. And like I said, probably going to do a nerd out session on that one to show off some of our builds once the mods settle down, because usually after a big update, mods are changing and updating to try to keep up and find out, okay, they changed this code, it's not working, and that's kind of what's happening now. So once everything settles down, we'll probably have a nice little session or whatnot. So, but yeah, all right. Thanks for going over that, Core, and thanks for hosting the server because it's been a lot of fun playing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Frax, you've been playing something modded.
Yeah, I've been playing Oblivion mods, and in the last two streams, you may have noticed some of the mods going wrong, which was funny. Basically, for my Oblivion playthrough, I have a bunch of quality of life mods and a few balance mods. Nothing that really changes the core experience, but mostly something that fixes some issues that the game has and some things that the devs came out and said, we actually wish we changed this one.
Oh.
We kind of levels being weird, or just some things that are still old because the game was made in 2005 and follows the design philosophy of 2005, which is vastly different than the one now. But what happened, like 2 streams ago of Oblivion, I changed computers because my old computer was giving the ghost, and I had to transfer my Oblivion setup to the new one, which worked pretty well. I thought I'd committed perfectly. Because I logged when I booted it up, all of the script mods gave their little okay, and I thought, yeah, this works. Until I fast traveled to the Imperial City and the game crashed. So I had to look like, okay, what has changed in the meantime? Because there had been an update as well. Apparently, the mods that I used to make the the Imperial armors look like proper Roman armors, like in Skyrim, had updated to account for the update, and now the old one just crashed. It couldn't load the new look. Okay, fair enough, fix that. Moving on, bit of gameplay. I noticed my follower isn't there because I had modded in a follower. Oblivion doesn't have those, unlike Skyrim. Couldn't find her anywhere. Weird. I carried on. Bit later after that stream, I'm looking in the files because I was adding some new mods in the backends to make things. Those were mostly technical mods to enhance the performance a bit and to hide some of the rougher edits from other mods. And I opened the little list that says in which order the game needs to load the mods, and I noticed that the little list is empty. It wasn't loading any of the non-script mods. It was kind of a miracle that it loaded the game at all, because usually when you load a modded save without the mods enabled, the game just goes, the fuck am I supposed to do with this, and shuts down. But that didn't happen. But that explains why my follower wasn't there, or there was a bunch of other issues, because none of those mods were being loaded. Like there was some weightness with the balance as well, because the balance mod wasn't loaded. So there's the kind of stuff that happens.
It just works.
It just works. Yeah, that's the phrase that Elder Scrolls as a franchise has become famous for, because Todd Howard's the lead developer at Bethesda dared to utter that, and then released Skyrim's glorious state, with many famous funny bugs. Like it's an amazing game, but some of the bugs were absolutely hilarious. Like my personal highlight was the horse physics, like with horses that can almost go vertically up a wall. The Skyrim Giant Space Program, where the impact of a giant club basically sent you into low orbit, among other things. I had one bug personally where an enemy did an execution move on me, but because of the perks I had, I survived it and didn't die, but I still lost my hat, so I played the rest of the game headless. But that's just Skyrim being Skyrim. For this, Skyrim is also known for its insane amount of mods. I think at this point, Skyrim might actually be the most modded game on Nexus at the very least. Definitely on Nexus, maybe all around. But Skyrim is not on Nexus. Skyrim is on Nexus, and Minecraft isn't. And Minecraft also has a long and storied history of modding, so I can't make that claim and completely waterproof.
Yeah.
Minecraft's another game I haven't played vanilla in 15 years. Because I
So
need to have my nuclear fusion mod.
yeah, the one thing I will say is one of my very first experience with modding was literally an Elder Scrolls game. Uh, I remember when I was a kid, my uncle had Oblivion. No, Oblivion, sorry, Morrowind. He had Morrowind on PC. And I remember going to his house once, and he had, I was showing my age, but he had one of those little folders that you open up that has the little sleeves for CDs. So he had a bunch of CDs, and each one of the CDs was like a name of a mod. He basically had like Nexus in his like sleeve, like a thing, because he would go onto websites, he would find an interesting mod, he would download it and put it on a CD, then he would add it to his like a little collection. And I remember him like loading up Morrowind, and it was an open field, and all of a sudden like 300 or like there was like dozens, probably not 300. It felt like a bunch, but it was like dozens of NPCs that were following him, and he had a quest to like defeat the enemy army. And he basically just like crested over the hill, and there was a bunch of enemies, and then it was just like this big like field battle in Morrowind. So it was jank as hell, but it was still like, for teenage me looking at this, was like, oh, that's awesome. And that kind of got
We
me
gotta
into
we gotta keep in mind that like back when it released, Morrowind was peak. Like those were the best graphics, the best gameplay. Like
it.
that stuff was like your imagination fills in a bunch, but like for good reason.
Well, to be fair, if our director could switch to my screen, people have went out of their way to really up Morrowind, where it's actually still it still holds up pretty well. It's
Yeah.
still, so there's a big Tamri like a Morrowind project that completely revamps how it looks. There is um, an actual hold on a second.
What's happening?
What's happening?
I just see that
But
you only have 2 moves.
I'm not sure. Oh, let's stop sharing that one. And I'm gonna share the appropriate
I'm
one.
shaking my head.
Professional
Uh,
podcasters, everyone.
give me a
In my
second.
defense, I'm a professional YouTuber.
We know. We keep touting it at you.
Select screen share.
Professional director here.
There we go. It should be good now. I actually had something that I was going to share on that screen too. That was actually the ModDB page, but yeah, as I was saying, like they've really like revamped it. There's actually a full-on multiplayer Morrowind mod that works like just works. I know Skyrim Together is a thing, but the one for OpenMW actually just straight up works. It's of course jank because it's Morrowind, but
I need to tell you that you did it wrong.
what I do?
I don't know, but the screen is black.
Really?
I'm just passing a message from Artsy.
No clue. I guess my Video Ninja doesn't work. So what about if I switch to this? So, but yeah, but they've done a really good job keeping that game alive. But yeah, that was actually my first experience with modding. So now on my screen there is should be a ModDB page, or is it?
If chat could mentally go back to the Stalker page you saw before, keep that in your mind, that image.
Huh. Hold on, a little technical stuff here.
Right, ModDB Stalker anomaly.
Stalker anomaly mod. I don't know why my Video Ninja just says no. Like, yeah, you're not allowed to.
I got the ModDB page open now.
Okay, I'm gonna try it one more time, and if it doesn't work,
Like a ninja, it disappeared.
is it working now? Is it moving?
Waiting a few seconds for the stream to catch up. No, it still seems to be an educational documentary about Antarctica that is set on mute,
Okay.
meaning it's white.
Can do this.
Yeah, it works. It works. I see it. Oh wait, that was mine apparently. Okay, yeah, but that one works. So, Stalker Anomaly, ModDB.
Okay. If you or scroll down,
Which one do you need?
you'll see it.
Yeah, I think this is just a Stalker Anomaly mod. It's not really. Oh wait, A-Life.
Hold on.
There's a Dr. Pepper drink mod for Stalker.
That's the one I was about to bring up.
Hell yeah! Actually,
I
about that. I know it's not Stalker, but I gotta switch tabs anyway.
The Monster Hunter, maybe?
Hell yeah, I already had that one open. There's the Nexus page. The
And
Nexus
that's
one.
the Hydrate redeem.
This one has a lot of options. Like, there's like 6 flavors of Dr. Pepper. Even the diet one, there's Coke, whatever cactus cooler is. But yeah, that's another funny thing you can do with mods. You can add bullshit, which is hilarious.
Excuse me, Dr. Pepper is not bullshit. It's the best something ever made.
Hey, God, did you know that they updated the soda mod for Monster Hunter Wild, so now it makes the soda sound when you drink, like the psh.
Ooh, nice.
So you should update.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
running that mod, unironically.
There's a lot of funny mods out there for various games. Like, not always very immersive, but it can just be fun. Like, I know I did one playthrough of Skyrim with a Darth Vader mod, so I had like the Darth Vader outfit, red lightsaber, installed the mod to have full powers, and just did a playthrough like that. That was hilarious. Dressed my follower in Stormtrooper, get up. It
You know-
was
Did they hit
bullshit.
anything?
Funny enough, one of the best Star Wars games is not a Star Wars game. It's just Starfield completely modded into being Star Wars.
I thought you were going to say Avorion, even without mods.
Well, yeah, that too. But yeah, so that Vorion is also another really good game. The mods on that game are basically mostly there are gameplay ones, but mostly it's just people's creations. They'll make a starship and then they'll actually kind of like show it off. So and actually one of the best Star Trek games is actually not a Star Trek game. It's actually Star Trek Armada 3, which, if anyone knows, Star Trek Armada had two games, 1 and 2, which are fantastic RTS games. But Star Trek Armada 3 is a mod from Sins of the Solar Empire. I'm going to see if I can pull up, since it looks like my video is working.
Hell yeah.
And so, if that works, Artsy. So this is essentially a mod for Sins of a Solar Empire, the Rebellion, I believe, or whichever not two, but the previous one. And if you look at this trailer and you see the gameplay and whatnot, you can confuse this for like, oh, this is like an official game. Obviously a couple years old because Sins of a Solar Empire is an older game. It's probably like almost 10 years old. But yeah, this is just created by fans for passion for Star Trek, and it has like full on all the ships. They have the voice lines from the Armada series and all the various Star Trek games. So they have the people like saying, you have Jean-Luc Picard telling you to make it so and engage and all that. So there is like all that. It looks extremely professional. It's really cool. So I figured I'd bring that up. That's also on ModDB, so I just saw that on ModDB. But yeah, it's probably the best Star Trek game that's out. And it's not even a Star Trek game. It's basically just a space 4X game that someone modded in Star Trek into it. So really, really cool.
Mm.
But yeah, going back to my Morrowind, as I was saying, that was the first game that got me into modding, because that obviously playing Morrowind, then I wanted to download all the different mods and such. So that was kind of like my go-to. So and it's still going strong. But yeah, I mean Skyrim is ridiculous. I mean you can look up. Funnily enough, Skyrim P word, which I'm not going to say, but we all know what the 4-letter P word is. If you look up Skyrim P word on Reddit, it's actually not spicy content. It's basically just people's videos of them with their fully modded playlist playing the game.
Yeah, Skyrim is one of those games that you can make ridiculously high detail and completely overhaul with Souls-like combat, or I say the other way around as well, that they turned it into completely like clay graphics and made it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
But Skyrim is extremely moddable, but Bethesda usually is very good on the mod supports.
Yeah,
Actually, does bring me to something else that I wanted to bring up, which is modding and the lifetime of a game, like how long it survives, often past the studio. For example, on my screen at the moment, I have the page for Total Annihilation Escalation. Total Annihilation is one of the better RTS games from the heydays of RTS, being 1997. So it's ancient. It was made the year I was born. It's as old as me. And the developer of it, Cave Dog Entertainment, went under in, I believe, 2003 or 4. But before they went under, before they closed the studio, they put out one final patch for the game, which you had to go to the site for and download because launchers and automatic downloads for games did not exist yet. And with that final patch, they did one thing, and that was they added in mod support. And they basically went, we can't make games anymore because we don't have money. We're closing down. But you can. And so ever since then, there's a small but dedicated community that's been adding and modding Total Annihilation, even up until now. Like if I go to download section, last version, January 2nd, 2025. And I'm highlighting Total Annihilation Escalation right now because that's my favorite one. That one adds like extra unities, like big experimental units. Well, they probably have it on the screenshots. Shields and stuff. Like you can see it's a very old game by the graphics. It's actually one of the first RTS games that was made with 3D models, even if it doesn't look that way. But they've been keeping it alive all this time. And that is pretty cool. And there's a lot more mods for it, like Total Annihilation Zero is another one. Sorry, I'm just getting handed something. Lost my train of thought. Yeah. So basically, that made the game survive. The developer's dead for like 20 years now, and I think that's a really big upside of modding because it would be a shame if this game just died. They also put in a still working multiplayer. There's an alive multiplayer and even tiny competitive community. And there's more stories like that. Like one of my favorite games that I have been streaming, Age of Empires, specifically Age of Empires 2. Same story. Developer went under in 2007. They got closed because Age of Empires 3 wasn't the biggest success, even though I personally do like it a lot. And they shut off the multiplayer as well for all of the Age of Empires games. And modders just went, all right, we can still go with this. So this, for example, I'm showing now is the Forgotten Empires mods, which was one of the biggest Age of Empires 2 mods that added a lot more civilizations and units and campaigns that the base game didn't have yet. So basically just a complete custom expansion. And 7 years after the closure, Microsoft, the big owner of Age of Empires, went back and had a look and was like, hey, Age of Empires didn't die. There's like a thriving multiplayer community. There's a whole bunch of mods. So they contacted the people that made Forgotten Empires. And nowadays, on a lot of the Age of Empires pages on Steam, you will see Forgotten Empires under developer because they hired this mod team. They were like, you clearly know what you were doing. Do you want to work for us? They said yes. So they became the first new studio to work on it. By now, there's like 4 that work on Age of Empires, but it revived the entire RTS franchise. And by now, this year, they announced that they have passed 60 million sales of Age of Empires in total, which is for an RTS series a lot. Because RTS is not really the biggest genre of games. And by now, the Age of Empires 2 has gotten so many more DLCs and expansions. Age of Empires 4 was made, and also is getting DLC and expansions. Age of Mythology was revived, remastered, brought back. Just because a few modders were like, "No, we can continue with this."
Yeah, RTSs are strange because it's like, not that I love this RTSs, but the RTS fans are super loyal to their games.
They are. They are. It's almost like MMO players. You will not get them away from their favorite game. You will not. You can make a new RTS game, but you will not siphon people away from their beloved one.
Well, I mean, look at
they're very loyal. They're also usually an older group of gamers because they've been at it for way longer. RTS is one of the older genres of gaming, together with first-person shooters, of course.
I mean, if you just take a look at I forget the name of it, but it's the game that's essentially just StarCraft, made by the developers of StarCraft that left Blizzard. It's like Stormguard or whatever. It's essentially it's a spiritual successor, and if you look at it, it's like, yeah, this is basically just StarCraft.
It uses the StarCraft balance philosophy, the design philosophy of factions, but didn't quite land.
Yeah, because it doesn't have, I don't know what it is. Maybe it doesn't have the factions, it doesn't have the story, it doesn't have the history. There's just something that just people are like, yeah, no, And
From what I've understood, it's two big factors. One being a larger issue with RTS as a whole, and one being specific. The specific one is it wants to be StarCraft, but it isn't. Like they can't use the StarCraft names and lore and story. Like they use designs that look like it, but it isn't it, and that feels very discount. So that kind of turned off a lot of people. And then, on the other hand, there's the larger problem with RTS as a whole, being that a lot of the more recent RTS games focus a lot on multiplayer, specifically competitive multiplayer. And surveys, like mostly unofficial ones, but also the Microsoft ones, have shown that most people that play RTSs actually like playing the campaigns.
which is why
And
super hyped for Dawn of War 4 because co-op campaign.
Exactly.
So-
Dawn of War 4 actually actually said the same thing. Like we know that people want campaigns, so they made campaigns. They got an absolutely enormous one. I believe they got for each faction they got 20 missions or so.
Yeah,
So
I
80
know.
missions total.
Dawn of War is an interesting one because like the Dawn of War 2 is like it plays like almost like you have a hero unit and you play through the entire campaign. I played it co-op with my uncle, and it was a ton of fun just going through the missions and whatnot. So yeah, but that being said, we are going to take a quick break, stretch, rehydrate, all the good stuff. I believe we're going to have a new guest. Mega said that he wanted to join in, so I'm going to be bringing him in once we come back from break.
Yeah.
Because we're going to start talking. We're going to start talking some more mods, and we're going to go into more of the main topic, which is going to be TTRPGs as well, homebrew.
And homebrew.
Yeah. So, all
But the
right.
big question: what is good homebrew?
Oh no.
Is the one that I made. No, it is an important discussion, but after break.
Yeah. So we'll see you in a few minutes. We're back. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, you guys were able to hydrate, stretch, do all the good stuff. We did the same. And we're just going to continue where we kind of left off. And I believe, if I am not mistaken, Core, you had.
I fixed that.
Oh, we have our special guest, Mega.
Hold on. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
I didn't click set active. Hold on, I'm also facing the wrong way.
Mega was still a chibi. You had to download into.
I was stuck in my Poppet form.
Yeah. Oh, poppets. Love poppets. But yeah.
At the Corey for the puppets.
Thank you, Corey.
Corey, best Corey.
Corey's best Corey.
Yeah, since we were talking about the mods keeping a game alive, we have another game that was in a really bad place when it released, and that was ages ago. The first Vampire's Bloodlines, the studio that made it, Troika, basically went bankrupt just around the time they finished it. They got it out the gate, but it had a massive amount of bugs. Some of them were pretty game breaking. If you had bad luck with your playthrough, there was a map you couldn't leave anymore, so you hard locked the game after like 15-20 hours in. That was a really bad bug that existed. And there also was a thing that some items vanished when you had a different language client, because on the back end they translated the item ID instead of the name, so there were really bad bugs. And there was a fan patch made, which is kind of like a mod. And with that patch, most of those problems were just gone, and the game worked again. And the game has become to be a very, very beloved game. And later this year, we're getting the sequel after more than 20 years. Please be good. Please be good. Please be good. Please be good. Yeah, and when you buy the game today on Good Old Games, for example, they recommend you install the fan patch, because Good Old Game also has a workshop, and they say, hey, when you play this game, you should really play with this mod. Like, we're not auto-installing it, but hey, install this, you will have a better time. So that's another game that kind of was saved by modding to a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely. That
Yeah,
game is
so
fantastic.
I hope that game, just by what it did, predated a lot of other TTRPG-based games with like decision trees and different unfolding stories. They were a bit ahead of their time and in over their head, but it was an awesome game. So yeah, and thanks to the fan patch, we're now, after changing developers twice and me canceling 2 pre-orders because they changed developers twice, we're hopefully getting the sequel now. It has a release date and there's a trailer, and it looks really nice. So I'm very psyched for that one.
Yeah, people have actually been playing it. So they've
Yeah.
actually, I've seen people kind of play the demo or like the intro or whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I kind of want to I want to see where they go with it.
Yeah.
So
we gotta stop here, otherwise they're gonna take up like another half an hour to an hour of the podcast. Maybe we can make this a
Nerd
thing
out.
too. Maybe I can
Yep.
actually stream it on the channel when it comes out. We'll see.
yeah, maybe we can do a nerd out too on it. Talk about
Yeah.
it.
So-
Maybe-
You were just talking about games that were saved by modding. What about games that are created by modding? Have we really talked much about that?
Oh, yes, but good points.
We'll-
Yeah,
we'll-
we
we'll
have
get
that on
into-
the docket. Yeah.
we'll get into that.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to speak about before I forget, because I do. It's been my obsession for the last 2 weeks now, and I've been putting our teeth through the gamut of 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is a survival sandbox open world game, as you heard it again, another one, with zombies. And it has been out for almost like 10 years, been worked on for like 10 years. They finally got to 1.0, they're on 2.0. They're just glorified alpha. They beat us now because they're still always working on them. It's a solid game. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the developers they are going in a direction with the game that's kind of like, oh, you're having fun and doing things the way we don't want to. We're going to change that. The game used to be more of a sandbox. Now it's more of a you follow quests and go through a linear path and do things, and they're changing a lot of things. So a lot of people are on the fence. And if you look up 7 Days to Die, the reviews are mixed. People are talking about it. But one of the things that's been keeping this game alive is modding. And I kind of played it a little bit. I know we all played it. I think Mega, Frax, we were all playing on the game for a bit, and it's pretty fun. And I don't mind playing it vanilla, but I started getting into the mods and seeing all the different kinds of mods that are available. And aside from like the UI mods, there are actually some really good just complete overhauls. So I've actually kind of been putting together like a mod pack so that when we play, because I want to actually play this in October, with kind of like a set mod pack that doesn't change. That's why I've been kind of trying out a lot of stuff these last couple of weeks, so that I can say, hey, this is what I want, and I'm pretty set on what I want. But there's all sorts of crazy mods. Like for example, this one that's on screen now is a mod that changes 7 Days to Die to be basically like Stalker or Escape from Tarkov. It adds almost like 150, almost 200 guns, and had like full animations, reload animations, different attachments. Changes the mechanics of the game to actually be kind of like Tarkov, the food items, the way you do things. Like right now, my character's eating, and there's actually full on animation where he's like eating and all that. That's not in base 7 Days. It even changes how zombies react. Zombies are a bit more like when you hit them, they actually will be yeeted off into the distance and like not like super far, but they'll actually you shoot them in the leg, they'll fall down and whatnot. And then it even adds like random armor to zombies. So sometimes the zombie might have a helmet because of, like this guy here, see, he has a helmet because it's like one of the survivors who died. So if you shoot him in the head, he's going to take like very little damage. So you have to like adjust on the fly, and they're like, okay, I got to shoot him in the leg, and then he's downed, and I can like beat him or whatever, or use armor penetration, or use some of the melee options, which melee is really not the core of this mod, so it's pretty cool. So that's just one example of it changing the game to be a completely different experience, where it's now kind of like an extraction shooter with zombies, and it's co-op, without the PvP. So, and it's really cool. And that's kind of like my go-to, is just kind of going in. I'm like, okay, this is a cool feature. I'm going to grab this feature from this mod and I'm going to toss it in my main mod. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Like, hey, I like this feature. Can I pull it from the mod? Yes, I can. It's separate. And I kind of been doing that. So I just figured I'd give 7 Days an honorable mention here for the modding community that does a fantastic job keeping the game alive, adding a ton of content, adding a lot of guns, even though right now I'm using a shovel to basically shovel my enemies. But yeah, and then the running zombies are terrifying in this mod because they're fast. So you have to shoot them. But yeah, I figured I'd give that shout out. So, and in October, hopefully we'll have a nice little playthrough of this with a kind of a more grounded mod pack. Nothing as crazy as this one. And we'll go from there. And that'll be a lot of fun. But Mega, you had a topic that you said you wanted to speak about.
Yeah, I was going to mention, and this kind of goes into both the whole thing I said earlier with mods creating games, as well as just kind of my experience when I was younger. Because so when I was in my teenage years, the main place that I would hang out in my real life, social life was it was a gaming cafe basically, and they had all these computers set up, and they had most of the games you would expect to have on a PC, like Counter-Strike Source and all that. The game that I played a lot, and I even played it at home because I had it at home, was Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 was very easy to. I don't know if I want to say mod in the same sense because essentially it comes with a map editor.
The custom,
And yeah, you can just create pretty much anything that the game's code allows for with that. Like it's very very flexible. They even allowed you to import models. So I would have stints where I'd play like I know most people talk about Dota, and that's like one of the main things that came out of that because that became its own thing. But the ones that I played were mainly like hero arenas, especially like the themed ones, like video game themed or Dragon Ball themed. Those were the ones I played the most. It was an interesting look into the possibilities of modding when I was young and I didn't have a good PC. I couldn't hardly play anything. I didn't have Steam. I couldn't run. I probably wouldn't have been able to run Source on my home computer. So that was a lot of my modded experience growing up was playing those games.
Yeah, I do remember playing Warcraft 3, and I'm sure people have heard of League of Legends. So yeah, and that's League of Legends, Dota. Those are directly a result of custom maps.
Yep.
Aeon of Strife and Defense of the Ancients are Dota All Stars.
Yep.
So
PUBG and Apex Legends are also there caused by mods. Maybe a
Yeah.
little more indirectly, but I can't help but notice that first the Hunger Games release, then people make Hunger Games game modes in Minecraft maps because that's very easy to do.
Mhm.
And then PUBG and Apex Legends and Fortnite come and do the same thing, but like in their own games.
Yeah, those games are partially part Minecraft, but I think it was Daisy was one of the big one. Like everybody was
yeah.
playing Daisy, because
Daisy
Daisy
was huge. I remember that.
people still play it. They have their own. It's no longer tied to Arma. You can still play in the Arma version, but they got their own. I mean, I would even say like 7 Days is something like a Daisy style game as well.
Yeah,
You
definitely
can
the
play
same
it.
style.
It's way more cooperative focus, which I
Yeah.
like.
Me
Yeah.
too. I like full dipshits with guns. I like my co-op.
Yeah, but you can play this one with PvP on and play it just like a battle royale too.
I
Yeah,
do want
I'd
to.
win.
I do want to actually at some point, specifically with you guys, like with this cast here, try like an actual PvP setup for one of those survival games, especially one of the ones that are actually like tuned for it. I kind of want to see how that turns out. Artsy, I'm
I
expecting
know
you to
how-
die
I know
too.
how-
Don't worry about that.
I know how I would end up. I would fully spec into clubs to go maximum Unga Bunga on everyone. Oh no, I died. I grab a new club. I'm rearmed. This is your problem now.
I would
Sounds
I would
about
not
right.
I would not want to play against Artsy because she gets her stun club, and I'm like, I turn up, I'm like, what's that noise? And I get yeeted off into the distance. Like, no,
Remember
and
the
now,
Skyrim space program?
yeah,
You're gonna live it.
and now that I've showed her the power of the jackhammer turrets,
Oh no.
as
Oh,
it's
no.
seen on stream right now, she's like, oh yeah, I wasn't using them because I didn't know what they did. Now she does, and now I'm terrified. So, like, you'll be and the traps. If you're gonna die to traps because she just she just will randomly. You're walking through the street, and I'm like, wait, why am I taking damage? Oh, there's a trap randomly in the street.
God, that would be incredible though. I'd love to play that. Just like
Right.
sort of like a mini dungeon that you guys have set up for me to like try and get through.
Oh, that's actually a
But
fun
it's your
idea.
but it's your
I was about
base.
to say we just let Artsy make a trap house and us trying to survive.
Yeah.
We're,
Objective: survive.
we're playing Home Alone, but with Artsy as
Okay, that's so fair. Arceus children. She knows exactly how to make those traps.
Oh god. We could probably set something up with Minecraft too, because we were
Yeah.
planning on doing that last year. But we kind of got sidetracked, and Minecraft is
I think the plan got a little too ambitious as well. Whereas just
Yeah.
simply making a dungeon with traps would be way easier.
yeah, and just having just playing the mod as is with a survival, just because it's scary enough. We didn't need to make full on cities, because we're like, oh, we're gonna make full on cities and stuff, and then we're just like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Then we kind
Plan
of
got too big and that never happens.
Yeah.
What I did make was something that we could reuse though. I made a highway bridge with TNT built into the base so you could explode it at will.
There is a map in 7 days that starts you off in an airplane crash. So so it's and it's handcrafted. The entire map is handcrafted. So every POI, every mountain, every road is placed by a person. So it's really cool, and that would be to do a playthrough.
That was one of the ones that I was suggesting to try, not specifically as PvP, but was a 7 days map that's pretty much all urban. There's no forest area, no open forest areas. Obviously, there's going to be trees and grass in certain places, but it's all going to be within this sprawling urban complex that you have to navigate and survive in.
Ah, yeah. I do love megacity maps.
Hi.
For 7 days, you just have to leave the forest biome or download a mod, because the forest biome is open on purpose to let you ease into the game. As soon as you leave the forest biome, everything is just larger cities,
Yeah,
especially in the Wasteland.
I'd like to figure out a way to do that though, because I think that'd be a really interesting way to play it.
Yeah, there's a mod for it, because it's just what you call big cities, big whatever it's called. I've actually set up a couple of maps that are like that.
Let's try that.
And the map that I'm talking about with the plane crash is essentially a large city in the middle with larger city satellites, like suburbs. So it does play like that as well. So yeah, there's tons.
We start in one of those city maps and have artsy trap a skyscraper.
Oh my god.
So then at which point do we just start hacking into the side of the skyscraper until it just collapses?
I mean, she'd probably set up bombs at the bottom so it'll just explode.
That's okay, that's 54 more of me.
No, they're dead.
Yes, I did.
That was Frax. That was Frax's first foray into this game. Was basically he died and then he just ran up to the enemies and started punching them, dying. It's like, one of my clones will kill you. It was hilarious. It finally got to the point where it was like, okay, he got through it, but it's like, okay, this is probably not going to be sustainable. And then I think once you kind of got to understand the system and the mechanics, it got a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how most people start their 7 days playthroughs.
Artsy, I know that there's XP loss, but the amount of XP loss is capped and the amount of lives isn't. I still win.
Also, when you're just starting out, the first few levels, you don't even get that. So
Oh yeah, true. I was
it actually is a
3
viable
ago.
strategy. You just throw yourself at things.
Like I said, I will go Oonga Boonga.
But yeah, definitely, I definitely want to do the 7 days. I do want to do the Minecraft Halloween thing too, or Christmas thing or whatever, where we just have one of those themed mods, the ones that have the weird enemies, and it's a scary survival type thing. That'd be kind of fun to play.
We do one in November for both Halloween and Christmas, and the theme is that you're trying to escape from Mariah Carey.
Oh my god!
The
Fucking
true eldritch horror.
Frax, can I hire you to make me a Mariah Carey skin for Minecraft?
I could.
All the
full-on model edit at that point.
I think all of the people who are the DMs that are floating around that are summoning things will just have that skin.
I could easily make that skin. That's not a problem.
No.
We're gonna get DMCA to oblivion.
I remember she was very encouraging about those kinds of memes. I remember.
Yeah, actually, she is in on the joke.
Yeah.
Generally, I didn't think of her a person with that kind of humor, but she is. To her credit.
Always a big plus.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like with Rick Astley. Like initially, he didn't like the Rick roll. He thought it was kind of disrespectful towards him as an artist. But he kind of got into it, and now he's totally fine with it. Like he's a really chill person.
Yeah, that's always a good. That was always a good to see when the memes, the people that are memes, kind of lean into it.
Yeah.
My favorite. I showed Artsy the. Have you ever had a dream with that kid? Like he's an adult now, and he actually like with it was a kind of like a not like a documentary, but it was kind of like a thing where he was talking about it, and then at the end of where he was talking about how it changed him and affected him and the meme and what he thought about it, he actually says what he wanted to say with this really emotional swelling music, and like he finally says it, then he looks in the camera and he just like smiles and nods like you did it, you finally did it. So yeah.
I think my favorite one like that is the guy that from the Hide to the Pain Harold meme. You know, the old guy who is kind of got a pain smile on his face.
Oh yeah.
There's actually a retired electrician from Hungary, like pretty old. Like he lived in the USSR, and he specifically started learning English like in his retirement, so he could speak about his experience as a viral meme, because he was trying to get an understanding of the internet and how that just worked, and he was trying to use that kind of fame for good, like to help people with it. So it's really
Oh, that's
wholesome.
fantastic.
That's
There's like
cool.
this friendly, very calm old man just trying to understand that kind of internet culture. I love that.
And I think he also basically did stock photos because he was bored. He was like, I want to try something, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
people looking for models to do stock photos. And what is that? He was just a curious person, and that's how
Yeah.
he got into all of that. It's really interesting.
Very intelligent too. Like he comes across as incredibly intelligent, the man.
That's cool. I'm so happy that he got in on a joke and he actually enjoys that. So
Yeah.
but that being said, unless
Wildly off topic.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know, we're kind of leaning into the topic, but yeah. But unless we want to continue on for video games, we could go into our homebrew section of basically modding and hacking and all that. So
Yeah.
I just want to add one quick more thing, which I do have a screen for open if Artsy wants to switch.
yeah.
Just modding is very much helped by developers that support modding, that make tools for it, and like add in the workshop integration or other mod tools. And I especially appreciate it when they are keen to show off the mods that their community has made.
No,
They shouldn't
no.
always do that, as the
No.
example shows.
My God,
Fucking damn it.
I knew this was coming,
Yeah,
and it's still
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
As soon as he said that.
But yeah, there are some like we said with the Dr. Pepper mod, there's some funny mods out there, and Larian Studios has been very supportive of their modding community forever. Especially this mod, they think is hilarious. They've been using it to share their statistics on the amount of people that are downloading mods. I believe about 260,000 downloads were the Winners Big Naturals mod. They actually installed that mod to use on their official streaming of the game, because their community team is doing a stream of Baldur's Gate 3, and the community gets to choose which mods are in. They gave the wizard the Glock. Just say that, like, I love it when the developers lean into it and promote it. So there's a few out there that really do that well, Larian being one of them. Relogic, the Triad devs, are also very supportive of their mod communities. Like you can see those devs even help with coding new features into the mods to make sure that works with the game. They're very dedicated. Mojang, of course, Minecraft, they overhauled a lot of their internal systems to make modding easier.
Yeah.
Those are like the big ones I want to shout out.
Minecraft's like another whole hour's worth of content we could talk about.
Minecraft could be its own episode. There's so much going on
We
there.
could do a nerd out for Minecraft, actually. That'd be
Absolutely.
pretty-
I'd like to. Yeah.
since we've recently played it, I kind of also want to shout out Funcom.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if they do big builds, they usually give a preview build for the modders so they can fix their mods before the actual patches hit live. And while they had their phase where they did the battle pass, where you had to do your daily tasks, they said we're not gonna control that on modded servers or anything. You can do that with admin mode on modded servers. We don't care. Just play the game and do the thing. Like they were completely hands off on that. They said you could do it with admin mode in 2 minutes each month. We don't care. We don't want to break modded people's playthroughs with a new monetization model. So just go wild, which is nice.
That's cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, one more I do want to mention: CD Projekt Red. They don't actually support modding all that much on their games, but for example, for the enhanced edition of The Witcher 3, they did look at which mods are the most downloaded and how can we add those to the game, because obviously people want them, which is a pretty cool move. I feel like recognizing when someone has changed your game in a way that most people like, and then just going, okay, we'll add that officially.
That's cool. Yeah, CD Projekt Red has always been pretty cool, and I know they were kind of the darling for a while, and then of course Cyberpunk came out in its original state, and there was it was easy to jump on the bandwagon and kind of hate on them.
They fixed it.
But they
Now
fixed it.
Now it's the
Yeah.
game they marketed. On launch it wasn't, but now absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a No Man's Sky, a game that you guys
Yep.
didn't know, but this, so
Yep.
Yep.
Also
That
good
was.
feedback.
I recently saw an image of the timeline of that game with like how many updates they have done, and they actually drew a line like from this point onwards, everything they added is no longer stuff they promised but didn't add. So like they fixed it in about 2 years, and after that they just kept going. More updates, more updates. You want custom spaceships? Have it.
yeah,
More biomes, more everything. Bio spaceships, have fun.
yeah,
They
nothing
just
but
kept going.
nothing but respect for devs that are they're able to say hey, we messed up, we didn't and we're gonna just update the game, and we're not gonna charge you for it.
Yeah.
So because those features they added, some developers could easily just say, hey, yeah, here's a DLC.
I've had some bad experiences with games that regrettable, but
like some dinosaur themed survival games. No names, but
I'm not gonna name them just because that's not the theme of the podcast. But yeah, it's definitely better when they add that kind of stuff for free. Like once again, Larian with the enhanced editions of Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, where they basically like a year after launch just went, hey, here's a giant update that's basically an entire like overhaul of some of the parts of the game and like new systems or whatever, and we will charge you nothing.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I want to go lead into our homebrew and TTRPG section of the actual discussion. So, Director, if you could please, on the title up top, just put in for TTRPG. I don't really have a video or anything
We
up
can
there.
keep this one.
We could probably actually. Well, I mean,
We shouldn't.
it's a thing. But
One of the most beautiful things of the internet is that everyone can just make what they want and share it with all of humanity, for better or worse.
yeah, that's a thing.
My ancestors survived bears and wolves and cold winters without food, just so that I could sit here and look at someone making making that.
I'm going to share. I guess I could share the tab of our Tuesday game because it kind of falls into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I might have a weird segue from video games to that.
Go for it.
Because there was something really funny happening when World of Warcraft released their classic servers, which they mostly did because people made classic servers, private classic servers, and at some point they've been asking it so much that World of Warcraft released classic World of Warcraft. The funny thing was when that was like in the testing phase, they had a giant list of these are not issues, that's how the game worked back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
which was
Oh,
super funny. Because I played when World of Warcraft was in Finland, and I was like, yeah, that sucked, that was super annoying, that was also super annoying, and people kept reporting those as bugs, so Blizzard had to put out a list. No, this is just how it worked. And yeah,
there was
people
also
didn't
the
like
list
it.
of
So
bugs that they know were there, but they forgot how to fix them.
yeah, that's also. Yeah, but the thing is, those were things that were there and people didn't like, and that's why they changed it. To
Yeah.
go into homebrew, yeah, if there's things you don't like in a system, change them, and that's what homebrewing is. My favorite example is for D&D 5th edition. I don't think I've played a single table where drinking a healing potion wasn't a bonus action, which is a homebrew rule
Yep.
because it's an action in 5e. And lo and behold, D&D 2024, drinking a healing potion is a bonus action. And that's your segue.
Mm.
Yeah. I like to
Yeah.
think the bonus action potion start as a house rule, but I like to think of house rules as no-brainer homebrews, like really tiny changes that come really naturally to just playing the game.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
There's a lot of those. Like most people ignore the thing that a gnome technically wasn't allowed to use a weapon with a heavy tag. Like a gnome barbarian can't use a ball. Everyone was like, ah, no one probably read the tag even.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
that's
bunch
also
of
one of
those.
those. Yep.
A lot of this were actually integrated just into the base game when they remastered D&D 5th edition. But you got to start somewhere, right? And there's small changes. There's house rules are the first step. Beyond that, there's always the bigger homebrew. Like for example, the let's say you don't like the way the ranger works. Like that was a common one. You might go look about changing that. Like for example, I don't like using an action to make my animal bite someone. You can make that a bonus action. That's easy. You can go further. You add new features. Maybe make it scale damage more. Give it new attacks to make it interesting. And like that's what real homebrew comes in. And the one thing I want to say about that up front is that you do have to vet your homebrew. You have to make sure that the homebrew you are
Yeah.
installing, quote unquote, into your game is on par with the quality of your original TTRPG. And for 5e, that's decently easy to check. Like you can look at features that do the same, like look at normal feats and compare them to homebrew feats, or normal classes compared to homebrew classes, and see if they roughly do the same like impact of things on the same levels. It's probably fine because 5e is fairly flexible like that. Other systems you might need to actually check the math more. Like in Pathfinder, when I do homebrew, I calculate all of the damage values and make sure that the conditions are weighted right, and because that's way more important than Pathfinder Second Edition.
Mm.
So a big tip for D&D 5th edition homebrew, there's this book that apparently nobody reads. It's called the Dungeon Master's Guide. Also a very
Never
good
heard of
read
it.
for non-dungeon masters at this point. And the old and the new one have a table for how much damage spells should do if you want to homebrew spells.
Mhm.
There's an actual table that says, hey, a 5th level single target spell should do roughly about this damage. And then if you're designing a homebrew and go like, yeah, but I want to have this damage be divided into multiple projectiles I can cast, maybe take 1 die off for the versatility, or if you want to inflict a status, take 2 dice off. But go roughly from that value and you will have non-broken homebrew.
Yeah. Do
I
not
think
make a homebrew where at first level you turn into an ancient black dragon. I have seen homebrew like that. That's overpowered. You don't want that because it trivializes your game, and your players won't like that.
unless that's what you're going for, like
Yeah, unless all of them get that kind of bullshit power. I mean, it's your table. You do what you want in the end.
I know there was anime D at 5e, so some people,
Oh, yeah.
some people actually enjoy that, which is it's actually really cool. It's like, hey, you want that power fantasy, so
I'm still
So
curious
Yeah,
about
that's-
that myself.
I don't want to riff on Enemy 5e, but it's at that point it's an Enemy D20 system. It
Yep.
has very little in common with D&D. I think it's a cool system. I've seen it, but the 5e part is maybe a misnomer. It's a cool D20 based system that's very close to 5th edition, but
it was very close to just being its own system. That happens naturally. I mean, that's how we got Pathfinder.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Because Pathfinder is in essence a homebrew of D&D 3.5.
Well,
Or
first
actually,
edition was. Yeah.
Yeah, first
first
edition.
edition. Second
Second edition
edition,
kind of iterated on that and added some elements from 4th and 5th edition D&D, but
Yeah.
also a lot more things of its own design. But you can see the influence in there still, which
Yeah.
is good. That means it's got familiar elements.
But that being said, I mean D&D in itself is a homebrew. So
yeah.
first edition D&D is a homebrew. If I'm not mistaken, in 1970, 71, 72, around
the
there,
time.
Gary Gygax, I believe, created or worked on Chainmail, which is a war game. So it's, you have armies, knights, large scale battles, pikemen, cavalry, all that sort of thing. And him and I believe Dave Arneson worked on trying to add like fantasy rules to reenact like, Lord of the Rings, like Tolkien style fights, so, the big fight at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movies, that thing. And I believe it was Arneson who wanted to shift it from armies to individuals and make it dungeons, collecting loot. He was actually the creator of Blackmore. And if you know what that is, that's actually one of the first like RPGs or the first like setting in D&D. And he kind of merged that together with Chainmail, and they kind of made Dungeons and Dragons, which I think it was like 74 or 75, somewhere around that range.
Somewhere there, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the first half of the 70s. So essentially, again, like I said, D&D was a homebrew of a system that's like, hey, this system is cool, but I want to play an individual character, doing this. Almost kind of like what we were talking about previously, Warcraft 3 to World of Warcraft, similar to that. Like, hey, now you're playing one person in these big battle type things.
And those, like even Chainmail was in the end a homebrew, sort of. Because that one was based on the military war games that were devised during the Franco-Prussian War, when the French and Prussian command staff were trying to figure out why did we win or lose a certain battle. And, you have the big command table in the tent, with all the little flags on it. They started moving those around and like devising rules of engagement, and then they appointed some people to arbitrate conflicts, to play out these imaginary battles, and to see why that worked or didn't work, to use that to devise strategies. And then they started doing it in their off time because it turned out to be kind of fun.
Yeah, that's really
Yep.
that's really what ended up happening.
You can actually find newspaper articles about the people running those games. That's how popular it was in the time.
Like, the reason you have this cute tiefling OC in Baldur's Gate 3 is because 200 years ago, some French and German people turned out to be massive nerds.
Yeah, that checks out. Also, the funny thing about that, because I learned about that in a video from Matt Colwell, where he went into the history of TTRPGs and about DMing styles. Little tangent, because I thought it's fun. They had very big tables for resolving those battles back in the day, like imagine Taco and everything, like giant tables and a lot of math. And then they basically interviewed a lot of the like famous DMs for that. Don't know how you would call it. And a lot of them basically said, yeah, I've played this so long now, I have experience, I barely use the tables. Which is also kind of, they secretly homebrewed all the rules in the background.
Yeah, they started making up their own rules. Like, no, I don't do it that way.
Yeah, because it made it more believable for the people playing it, and it made it make more sense. So they basically kept homebrewing the system to make it better.
That still amazes me and fascinates me that was a thing. Like I could see it. It makes sense. But yeah, next time someone tells you like, oh, what are you gonna do with your life? Just play TTRPGs? Because no, one day maybe we'll actually be in in a situation where I'll need to lead armies in war, and this is going to help me with that strategy.
Who knows?
I don't know about that.
I mean,
At the
honestly,
very least, it could inspire a video game if you ever end up making one. I mean, a lot of the story of World of Warcraft is Chris Madsen's TTRPG game.
yeah. I mean, I think Uther is basically his in-campaign paladin.
Yeah, and I believe Troll was another one of his PCs.
Everybody he voices, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
Pop
I
Off
mean-
King, I would do the same.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of authors self-insert their characters into their works, which is
Oh,
not
yeah.
bad because you have experience thinking as that character.
Yeah.
And yeah, also, I mean, our TTRPG skills might be useful in the zombie apocalypse at least.
At the very least, you can put it on your curriculum vitae as like experience organizing groups of 3 to 6 people at regular times and like scheduling and whatever the shit. Tactical thinking.
I did have that on my resume when I was hired for my current job, so
I actually do put that in as well. Like I don't know my exact wording because I don't have my resume open right now, but I do have something like that in there.
That
'Cause
actually
they are
was
valid skills.
yeah.
that actually was one of the skill sets that actually was like used in my interview for the library. They're like, "Oh, you actually have the experience like leading groups in terms of doing group projects and stuff." So
And look at that! Now you actually are leading D&D games and Pathfinder games for them.
oh, yeah, still can't believe it. Still great.
Hey, they knew what they wanted, and they got a really good DM for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of that. I think another system that I'm super interested in, Savage Worlds, which is kind of like a system agnostic, kind of like basic pulp fiction, pulp, not like pulp action system. And there's a lot of hacks, like a lot of like essentially homebrews or like like expansions of that system, like Deadlands and whatnot, that have become their own thing, which is really cool to see. So I love when that happens, or Powered by the Apocalypse turning into things like Blades in the Dark, because Blades in the Dark is kind of a little bit of Powered by the Apocalypse. It does its own thing, but it's it's unique, but it still shares a lot of the core concepts with the Powered by the Apocalypse system. So there's a lot of that going around, like taking ideas from each other, and I think that's a good thing. I never see it as a bad thing when someone like, hey, we're gonna take this idea, and make it our own and kind of add to it. So
Can I derail us for just a second here?
go for it.
Wait, you're
'Cause a
not
lot of it-
real?
What? What?
You're not real?
Derail.
Oh, derail. Oh, that goes
my
that joke.
God.
Carry on.
I almost lost what I was going to say.
Good job derailing, Frax.
Because we were, we were talking about a lot of this stuff with like historical homebrew and like talks about like good and bad practices for creating new content. And a lot of it just reminds me of the advice that I would hear around like communities where people wanted to get involved with writing. Because before I started doing D&D and DMing and all that, I wanted to become an author. I still do, but like it was more of a focus for me at that time because I didn't really know anything about getting into those games.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing world building before I even started playing games based on it. And a lot of the advice they gave you, a lot of the advice that I would hear kind of like, for some reason, it would always go directly against what we've learned nowadays. Like what we're talking about here, like it's okay to borrow ideas as long as you make them your own. But I remember like one of the main things that people would talk about is like never borrow ideas, always try to make them your own. And I guess maybe that was just me misunderstanding what they meant by the advice, but it still seems a bit misleading thinking back on it.
I mean, it's really hard to not borrow ideas. Like there's no such thing as an original story or an original idea nowadays. That's what it feels like. So
I think it comes from because again in that writing community, I don't know if I really got involved too much, but I've seen a lot of people write stuff like fan fiction, and there's good ways to do it, and there's very, very bad ways to do it.
What was it called again? Like My Immortal?
No, we're not talking about that.
oh my
What
god.
else? Okay.
That's one of those ones that like I don't know if it was deliberately made as bad, but it's one of those ones that looped around into being entertaining on its own just because it was so outlandish. And that's something you can do too. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it's definitely something you can do.
Like isn't that the basis of a lot of satirical shows like
That's true, yeah.
Family Guy, South Park, and those kind of things? So
I do actually kind of take that mentality and like within reason try to like put it into game settings. Like I'll have some rather ridiculous NPCs. I know one of my players' favorites recently was a orc chef.
oh, you mean Golden? What is it?
You guys call him Gul'dan Ramsay.
Golden Ramsay. Yeah, well,
I was not prepared for that one.
Yeah, it's. Oh, I love Golden Ramsay.
I might have to just give him that name at this point. I didn't want to because he did have one, but at the same time, this is just a way better idea.
Do it.
I mean, no peer pressure, but you know.
All right.
I mean, that's just the thing that happens. I'm DMing Descent into Avernus, and there's a really cool character named Orlanthus. And my party has decided to call him Orlando, and he now looks like Orlando Bloom, and I have no chance changing that.
Yeah, I know.
That's just the thing that happens.
It really is just like that's the if you ever doubt that like players have a major effect on how a game is run as a DM, like this is just the best example of it. Once players fixate on a meme, there is no stopping it.
Yeah, there's no plan survives contact with the enemy, and no plot survives contact with the party.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, yeah. Depends on how well you know your party.
Yeah, true.
Well, sometimes you get lucky and have. But again, that it's true that like you can create a plot line, a storyline. You can create like this is the character, this is how they're gonna act, this is what they're gonna do, and then as soon as the party meets them, they walk by him and like, yeah, the short gnome in the corner, I want to talk to him instead. Give me his
story.
Give me his genealogy, his entire family history, what he's been doing for the past 20 years. You know, like give me all of his friends, his relatives and friends and whatnot. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens far too often. But it's fine. It's fun.
And then you have your own instances of it. Like you brought in what was that goblin's name? With the hockey puck?
Oh,
or not the hockey puck, the hockey stick.
Yeah, like the Wayne Gretzky goblin.
It's like the single most confusing thing I ever experienced in any game.
Well, you know what? I blame Aztec. Aztec was like, do this, and he gave me a picture, and I'm like, all right, we're going live. So, it was a goblin. on ice skates with a hockey stick that cross dimensional like went to because Russia is a thing in Pathfinder, so obviously by that logic, so is the rest of the Earth. So went to the Earth, got trained by Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan. So those are his senseis. So yeah, and like he was pretty badass. He just kind of just went over there and bonked a bunch of people. So with his hockey stick. So yeah, I still don't know what the hell that character was about.
I mean, I remember you asking me for like a name for a werewolf you were gonna plan on sync on the party. And I don't know why, but at the time I was looking at the Wikipedia page for Jeff Bridges, and I just told you Jeff Walkways, and you went with it.
Oh, yeah, Jeff Walkways. Yeah, that was a boss fight. Indeed,
Yep.
Jeff Walkways. So, but yeah, just that's again smarter storytelling, and sometimes homebrew helps facilitate that. I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, that's not a rule for that, but we're gonna try to do something with it. Like I think one of the things that I've been doing recently is I oftentimes have NPCs join the party, but I don't want to be like a DMPC and play them. So I kind of just have them act on their own and kind of give them like the own system. So I kind of homebrewed a little bit of a system for them in Pathfinder, where I kind of do a lot of the sudden charge style condensed actions like move and attack or move and do interact or whatever, and give them a couple of things that they can do, and then just like pick from that. And then if the party tells them to do something, then I give them an extra action and they can actually act normally. So if someone has like a free action, they're like, hey, make Victor smack this guy. And then Victor will swing and crit. And then they're like, yeah. And then it feels like they're involved with it. It's just not me playing it. So I still love that boss fight, which was meant to split the party. You're just like, all right, the party's going to go in one direction and Victor's going to solo this one boss.
And so he did.
And yeah, he did.
I have been trying to adopt, actually in the past couple of weeks, especially, I've been trying to adopt a system like that for my own game, because it's gotten to the point where I do have a lot of these side characters. I don't want to play them. I don't want them to take up a lot of game time, but I want them to be there. And I know at least to some extent the players want them to be there too. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, right? You are one of them.
Yeah, no, they're totally fine. It's just a lot of times, again, you get to the point where with that, which happens with anything. Like when we did the big 10-man dragon fight, when we combined the two groups, it just there's more people and everything takes more time. Mm-hmm. So it's just again going back to the chainmail Dungeons and Dragons, switching it from big armies to single individuals. That's basically what like parallel to that, or like
don't what? Sorry, Ritzy. She said I don't remember what that was in response to.
Oh, the NPCs, yeah, because she barely knows what's happening with her character and all these NPCs. So yeah, again, it depends. Some people like a lot of them. Some people don't. Some people want a bit more control or want to be able to do things. It's just feeling out the party, feeling out the players. But yeah, no, that again, like I said, it's just anytime you get like a large number of enemies or NPCs, it then goes into this where turns take a long time. So it's hard for people to kind of focus because they're like, okay, well, my turn was at 6 p.m. and then by the time I go again, it's like 7:30 or something, or 7 o'clock. So they spend an hour kind of like sitting there waiting for NPCs to go, or waiting for things to shift around. So especially when there's not like any kind of rules for it, or they don't understand what's happening, it could be very, very difficult. So
that could just be the wizard taking his turn.
Yeah. Or my one friend that you guys didn't believe me until you played with him.
He was doing his best.
no offense to him. I love him to death. He shows up every week, but my goodness, those turns. But it's because he wants to help the party. He wants to do what's best. So that's I can't blame.
I mean, I emphasize, but you saw me like a few sessions ago on Tuesday, when I couldn't see shit and I couldn't prepare my turn and I had to do it live on my turn. That took a bit as well.
Mm-hmm. Especially with I mean, Kineticist has a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
So it does kind of your turns. You have to kind of think, because if you commit to a big ability, then you lose your aura, then you lose all your AC, then you're a target. So
Oh no, my
maybe,
aura.
maybe one day Paizo
God.
will actually make Kineticist interact with everything.
One day, and until then, we will homebrew it. Boom.
Hmm.
Yeah, the whole thing with the power. Yeah, that's actually again homebrew. The whole thing with the points of power, where I put points in the world where Lena can interact with, which will give her like some kind of homebrew that lets her interact with those mechanics that maybe are not built into the system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's a little stronger. And we haven't really gone into details and sat down and figured out the specifics, but it's still there, and it's still like it's something that she chooses to do and has to kind of find them and take a quest to get them. So it's a reward, where someone, where we give, maybe we'll give Scary a bigger hammer. We'll give you since bigger hammer does nothing for kineticist, we'll give you I don't know, a broom that you can do
Shit,
on
what
the
do we do
impulse.
now?
Yeah,
So
or
the thing is there actually is an advanced breakthrough for weapons that increases the damage die, but I fear a D12 Dawndirk, to be honest.
Do it.
I mean, you already do as much damage as some people do on crits with your basic hits.
Yeah, that's why I said I fear a D12 Dawndirk, because I
Yeah,
am
right.
getting critical.
But the balance to it is that you don't have the high to hit like a fighter, so there's times where you just miss and it just happens. So it feels very barbarian. Sometimes you swing wildly and miss, and sometimes you hit and everything just turns to paste.
I mean, yeah, you have to dodge a truck. That's the point.
I mean, you're the one calling her a truck.
Have you seen her damage numbers?
I was gonna say, have you seen her? But yeah, okay.
I have.
Also
Like to
that.
again.
Wait, we can manage.
Tiny truck. Oh, Artsy called it a tiny truck.
Yeah.
Wait, if you
Also,
wanna
I
see
do
her
believe
back.
it's time for
There
a
you
little
go.
rad break.
Yeah, it was time for ad break. So we're gonna take a break here. We're gonna stretch.
Yep.
Go back into a bit more, maybe give some more specific examples or whatnot. We'll see what we do,
Yeah.
and continue from there. All right, so see you guys in a
Yeah.
bit. And we're back.
Oh, I saw
Welcome.
pixel
Are
art
we?
at the end there.
So, um, let's go for our next segment for homebrew. I believe it was brought up for some of us to kind of talk about our favorite, maybe homebrew that we've used or played with.
Mhm.
Might be a really fun way to kind of open up the discussion. If anyone wants to go first, feel free. Um,
Yeah, I can go first because I don't use a lot of homebrews, so my favorite homebrew is just a house rule for 5th edition that we use. Because in the basic rules, there's a lot of things about using your hands and switching equipment and everything.
Mhm.
And I tend to hand wave that because it's cumbersome for everyone. Because it's very annoying if you have marshals that want to use different weapons, they waste a turn or have to drop one of their weapons. And it's just an annoying ruling, and it doesn't fit the power fantasy of the trained martial artist switching between weapons. And I think it's annoying. And for spellcasters, is how many free hands do you use to do you need to use which spells, and does it have material components or not? And are you using a spellcasting focus or not? And that's a really bad rule segment for 5th edition, so I opt to ignore it as a house rule, and it's my favorite.
yeah, that's cool. I'm trying to think of one for myself.
I think
I
I
know.
got two.
Oh, go for it.
Like the first one is a very simple one. That was when I started playing D&D for the first time with a sorcerer. My DM, who was also new to DMing D&D at the time, basically looked at the sorcerer bit in the book and went, "What your innate magic is because you're such a magical being and you need focus. That's bullshit. You can use yourself as a focus. That's it. That's that, bro. Has it had any consequence? No, not at all. But it was important for like the class fantasy for both of us.
Oh, that's a good one.
And then the biggest actual homebrew I've used that I really liked was Shadowheart Apocrypha classes, specifically their Dracomancer. Because one thing that I found kind of a shame with D&D is that their companion-based classes often have to really smudge everything together in the action economy of one character, and that's really hard to do. So you often have to waste like full actions or bonus actions on making your companion do anything, and if you don't do that, your trained attack wolf or your actual pet dragon is brain dead, is just sitting there like and I felt like that was fairly immersion breaking. Like if I tell my wolf to attack that guy, I think my wolf is smart enough to keep attacking that guy without me having to say that again every 6 seconds. So what Shadowheart Apocrypha did with their companion classes and their Dracomancer, they basically balanced them like two characters to get past the budgeting, the power budgeting issue. So for the DM, that meant if you had 3 players and one of them was a companion class, you had to balance your fights for 4 players, which is easy enough to do. It's just add some extra enemies in the mouth. You got encounter calculators for that. On the player side, it meant your character was slightly more complicated because you did have more to do on your turn. But the companion classes usually weren't casters, unless you specifically spec into that, and then they had to share their spellcasting. So it wasn't complete bullshit in power. It was actually fairly well balanced that way, and I really enjoyed playing that because it made me feel like my actual pet dragon there was a character on its own that was intelligent and could actually do things without being reminded every 6 seconds.
Okay, that's cool. Um, I'm trying to think of mine. I think mine is actually a 5e1.
This was 5e. Yeah, I forgot to specify that.
Yeah, mine also was a 5e1. Mine was the pugilist 5e.
Oh yeah.
Um, so in creating my first character, I saw I knew what kind of character I wanted to make, and I realized that Monk didn't fulfill the fantasy to that extent without a lot of hand waving, or at least it fulfilled it, but not. There were some things that were missing that I wish, like man, I wish this could be a thing. I wish this, and this, and then I saw this. The DM at the time basically was like, "Yeah, I have this class that you can play," and I was reading through it, and basically everything that I wanted was in it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for." So it kind of really opened up, made me create my one character, who like I played for a little bit there, and then I ended up bringing over to Pathfinder Monk, which is pretty easy to fulfill the fantasy. Essentially, what the fantasy I wanted was kind of like an MMA fighter, like grapple and bring people to the ground and beat them to death, well, or beat them senseless. So, and Monk sort of was kind of mad, multiple attribute dependent. So a lot of the cool things that I wanted required wisdom for key. Then it was needed dex for my AC and to hit for certain things. But then I needed strength. But then I also needed con. But I also wanted to be a little bit like a show off. So I wanted to put some charisma. It was kind of difficult. And this class kind of had a little bit of everything. It had like the street smarts, the ability to do haymakers, knock people down, fancy footwork, things like that. So it was really cool. It really got me into making that character and invested into the character and really into playing the game. And that really motivated me into then starting to DM some more as well, because I started to really have a lot of fun with my tabletop. So that's my favorite open. Last but not least, Mega.
Wait, did Core go?
Did Core go? Did I skip Core? No, Core went. He said it was the yeah. He had the one rule.
Oh, sorry. There's a lot that I could talk about, and maybe this isn't specifically my absolute favorite, but it's the one that comes to mind because of how much it stood out to me. I was playing a game of 5e with a DM who's fairly like homebrew heavy to begin with, and one of the main complaints that I was having about the game is that, well, obviously I was playing a monk at the time, and like we were playing with the like long resting, like gritty resting rules.
Ooh.
So it made it extremely difficult for me to use key actions because even a short rest takes an entire day at that rate. And there was like no way for me to like easily cycle or like manage my key without just kind of not using it most of the time. So what they came up with, and they wove it into the story even with the character and everything, was this alternate spirit that sort of possessed the character and gave her like negative key that could be used for other actions. And he pulled from a list. There was Frax, you mentioned the name of it. I don't remember what it was. There was a site that there was just like a list of, they were like combat maneuvers.
Oh yeah, that was from Level Up 5e. It's
Yeah.
a bigger overhaul for 5e normally.
Yeah. So he basically pointed me to that. I picked a few for my character, and what the way it worked was there would be some of those that would use more than 1 point, but they all would use at least one. And whenever I used one of those essentially negative key abilities, it would give me back a positive key point, like regular key point. So it gave me a way to cycle through my key actions and not have to worry too much about wasting them. But it didn't make it completely infinite because, again, not all the negative key actions were worth 1. So like I would get to the point where I would like have to just cycle like 1 basic negative key action and then one positive key action, and you would still I would still have to like alternate between them, so it wasn't just for free. But it definitely helped with longevity, given that we were playing in a system where we had to take much longer rests to recuperate. Because I feel like monks suffered the most out of pretty much any class. I mean, obviously the caster suffered a lot too, but I think like out of the martials at least, monk suffers the most for not being able to rest in a short amount of time.
Yeah, because fighter can still like fight and decent enough. I mean, yeah, they lose like action surge and things that they can't do, but that's interesting. I think that's a testament to 5e's, the fact that I think all of our favorite homebrews seem to be from 5e or 5e related. This is how the system is
Yeah, it's just
detailed
kind
but
of
simple enough where like it's kind of
Yeah.
easy to kind of do things. So
It's the Skyrim of TTRPGs.
oh my god.
I don't know. It's the Dark Souls of TTRPGs.
No, it's not.
No, I think that's probably Pathfinder at this point.
I actually wouldn't know. Isn't that more like Morgborg?
Oh God, Morkborg.
Congrats on making your character. You died.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you go to the Morkborg. So Morkborg's another one that's interesting. I made a character that had 1 HP, and the only item he had was an item that when I used it, I took 1 HP of damage. So it's like I had an item that was cursed that I needed to use. So I didn't die in character creation, but I died the moment I needed to do anything related to combat. Or at least purposely gimp my character, because then I wouldn't use that ability. So, but that might be another cool nerd out session where we tried different systems, because I had a lot of fun trying out Shadow the Weird Wizard with Maladin. So doing like little one shots and then during a nerd out session or like a TTRPT session might be fun just to try them out. Or even just kind of reviewing some homebrew or something. I know a lot of people already do that, but it'd be kind of fun to kind of look into like, yeah, what does this do? All right. So that was a lot of information about homebrew. And there's tons more.
Oh yeah, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, I think one of our nerd out sessions will probably be just talking about more of this and doing even like a follow up, kind of a round table on this because it'd be kind of fun to talk about, especially specific ones.
Oh yeah, because there's some great ones out there that I know a few people in our community play, like Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting is a fairly popular one in our circles.
Yeah, there is a Monster Hunter one in Pathfinder where you have like the charge blade. It's pretty fun. But that being said, unless there's anything else you guys want to kind of bring up before we start wrapping it up.
I think I'm good.
I've said what I wanted to say for the most part, I think, yeah. Oh, the bit about setting expectations with homebrew.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm very cautious around homebrew. Because yeah, my thing is with rules, they are here to set up expectations. So I want things to fit and mesh with the system, and so if you introduce new homebrew, try doing it at the start of the campaign. Make it a thing in session 0 to talk about which homebrew, which house rules you use, so that your players know what they can do and don't get surprised or sidelined by homebrew. That's a thing I would advise people to be cautious about. But then using it is no problem at all. Maybe not that much of a positive closing note, but be aware of the homebrews you use, because you can mod a PC game till it breaks. Same as for homebrews.
Yes. Same as
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
But still, yeah, you can make a game your own, and that's the great part about it. That's why so many people do it.
Yep. Yeah. At one point, you stop playing the game and you just keep modding. Like some Skyrim players who probably like, oh, I have 2,000 hours in Skyrim, but I've never beaten the game. I just keep modding.
Yeah.
So at some point, making that distinction would be kind of a good idea. Of like, hey, we're going to, this is how much we're going to set up. This is how many mods we're going to put in the game, or this is how much homebrew we're going to have, and then we're going to try to work the system. I especially advise new players to avoid falling into the trap, because I call it is a trap of jumping into too much homebrew, especially for systems like 5e, because then it's just there's so much going on. Just start simple. Start with what what's available, and you can always talk to your DM later on if you want to change characters or change class or whatever. That should be easy. If you don't like it, just like anything, because you never know, especially if it's your first game. Just start. Same with mods. Don't go super crazy on like what's the best mods. Play vanilla for a little bit, and then you're like, okay, I get it. I want this changed, because you don't know what you're missing out or what's been changed if you're only just play it, with homebrew. So that's my only advice as well, I think. So, all right. Well, hey, you know what? It's really good to be back. It's been a while. Hey Mel, I see Mel in chat. Did shout you out a couple times. Looking forward to seeing the VOD of the Shadow the Weird Wizard, and hopefully we can do some more stuff in the future. You are always welcome here as a friend of the podcast. But yeah, it's good to be back in the swing of things. I'm glad I got all you guys here to help me continue with this project. And we'll see how season 2 of the podcast will be going into a new year and a new fresh take on everything. Now that we've kind of gotten over the summer breaks and touching the green thing known as grass is over, we can now go back to shutting ourselves in our basement and waiting for Halloween for candy. So
Nice.
We might even
Also-
add new heroes and new skins.
yeah.
Also, we have some things planned for the future and near and immediate future for our Sundays.
Yeah, we said that at the beginning.
Yep, that was the first thing I mentioned, unless there's something different. So I mentioned we're getting back into our Sunday stream. So we're going to be doing Abiotic this Sunday, and then maybe during Halloween we'll do maybe some 7 days or something else. Was there something else that I missed?
Nope.
Oh, cool, awesome. And I also mentioned in the beginning that our Tuesday game will be shifting to Wednesday. It looks like everybody was good with the shift to Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes. So expect us same time as we do on Tuesday, but on Wednesdays. We'll be continuing as the party is essentially home wrecking a vampire's manor, or at least a manor that they took over. So it's not theirs, actually. So
In a manner of speaking.
in a manner of speaking. Jeez, good. You know what? If we were playing a game, I'd give you a hero point, Mega.
Next episode title, write that down.
In a manner of speaking.
Yep.
DMRC, quickly.
But you're DMing RC.
I mean, I'm DMing
2
all of
days
you.
even.
I will put that in the DMs. A title for stream. Okay. With that, goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out the VOD or watching us live. Everybody say bye. We're going to be rating. I believe we're going to be rating, was it Lord Tavnar? Because he's playing Hollow Knight. Because, yeah, let's go raid.
Hell yeah.
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 Is he singing the Silking song?
What?
The song.
The song of the Silk that we sing when we take off our clown wigs.
Oh my goodness.
I was saying to a friend of mine that they should make that like an alternate costume for Hornet, and I can't.
We need a raid message.
Homebrew raid.
Nerdcast raid, homebrew raid.
This raid is modded.
This raid is modded.
No, we're just doing raid message exclamation mark. I like that one.
Wait, raid
Actually,
message.
kind of like that.
Let's do it.
All right, raid message. Let's do it.
What Melanim says.
Yep. Mel coming in clutch with the homebrew raid message.
Yeah,
Goodbye,
but we failed
everybody.
installing the raid message bot, so it just outputs that.
Yeah. Nice. Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. See you next
Bye.
month or on the Nerd Out sessions.
Bye.
It's just Hollow Knight.
Nerdcast, thank you so much for the